How you going?
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Happy Boxing Day.
We don't celebrate those Queen's holidays.
Yeah, you heathen. King.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost. Cybertron!
Hello, friends, and welcome to the Autopod Decepticast, a bi-weekly podcast that delivers an episode-by-episode breakdown of the original G1 series. This is our episode number 195. How you feel about that, Ryan?
Nailed it.
And the episode is Webworld. Are we there?
We are.
On the same page?
We got it.
Great. Things can't be perfect. Welcome to the show, everyone. This is your host, Aaron, here with co-host Ryan, and maybe we'll see Caleb in the future. We're on the lookout for him.
He had some van issues.
He did, which is strange. That's normally your thing.
That's my bailiwick.
But and we're also here along with special guest Greg Tansley. We're going to get to him more in a few minutes. But first, you know, we don't often get an opportunity to talk about our past here on the show. You know, it's all robots all the time. That's the APDC promise. And often we get criticized for our lack of talking about our personal lives.
Yeah, they're like, why isn't there more like 30, 40 minutes up top before they get to the review?
Right, yeah. So, you know, we thought we'd give you a little bit of that since you've been asking for it. And our most dedicated listeners would really like to know how we came to know each other. Well, the year was 1963.
Okay.
Ryan was avoiding hard time for a little statutory indiscretion with an underage girl.
Jesus Christ.
He's doing hard labor at a work farm in the Pac-in-Dubs. That's Pacific Northwest for those who don't speak my cool jive speak. And that is no bueno for him. So he fakes insanity to transfer to a mental institution. Well, mission accomplished. Now he has to deal with head nurse Ratched, who really has it out for Jet and all of us in the facility. The nurse runs this joint with an iron fist, but Ryan, he represents freedom, self-determination, and perhaps some other unsavory things, but that help us see through the oppressive shackles of those who'd seek to confine us. And among those patients are, well, me, sweet man-child Aaron, and I have delusional hallucinations, but I love a good card game with cigarette stakes, and maybe I'm going to open up a bar with my pals in Philadelphia someday. There's also Caleb, another wild card without fear. He's prone to stirring up trouble, and maybe he has a plan to create a machine that will take him back in time after he works at a taxi dispatch with me. And then there's Greg, who will call Chief for reasons that are definitely culturally irresponsible. But those were the times, and that's what we did. And Greg is tall and imposing, and he's also a deaf mute. So we all get along just fine, except he's not actually a deaf mute. So he and Ryan conspire to break out of the joint. But first, let's have some fun with the inmates. Jet teaches us all about gambling and boating and fishing and is just generally entertaining and helps us discover the self-confidence trapped within all of us. But maybe he takes it a bit too far when he bribes Scatman Carruthers and sneaks some spicy bottles and a couple of paid dates up into the ward. But things went south when Ratched discovered the ward in disarray the next day. I'll skip the part where our friend Billy was shamed by Ratched and offed himself, and I guess I won't skip it after all. But things get even worse when Ryan tries to strangle the nurse, eventually getting himself lobotomized. Well, thank goodness Greg was there. He puts Jet out of his misery before lifting the immense, heavy hydrotherapy console that I always assumed was a water fountain from the floor, smashes it through the barred windows, and he escapes, flying, as it were, from our cuckoo's nest.
I thought it was a water fountain, too.
Not the most uplifting intro I've ever shared, but
appropriate
truths
for
are
this
hard,
episode.
and we have to confront that.
Wow. I'm glad you included the part about the pedophilia.
I mean, it was the whole reason you were there, Ryan.
You know, in watching that movie, that's one of those movies where you watch it and you're like, as a younger person, and you're like, yeah, fuck the man. And then you watch it later and you're like, she kind of was just doing her job.
I mean, she was a hard ass.
She was. That's true.
I did read, and it does make sense. It was an analysis. This is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest for those who don't know what the hell we're talking about. That movie is sort of metaphorically an anti-woman movie. Like every female character brings pain to the male characters
I could see
in
that.
some way or another. It's been a while since I read the Spark Notes analysis on it, but yeah, she's a little tough on everybody. But it's also the 60s. It's also a mental institution. I don't know. I got nothing else to say here.
It's not my favorite.
Have you seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Greg? By the way, welcome to the show.
I was being
Chief Greg.
Yeah, I was being method. I was just waiting to throw I thought it was a water fountain too, so there you go.
Yeah, it took going to the Wikipedia page for me to realize I've been wrong all these years.
Yeah, I do like that movie though. When I did my 40 for 40 movies blog thing a few years ago, that was number 11. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's not
so
bad.
Just missed the top 10 points as well for getting Nurse Ratched correct with the D and not Nurse Ratchet, because every second person I hear comment on that movie calls her Nurse Ratchet.
It's
is like, oh, it's not right.
I do believe that I've heard that
Ratchet
is an homage to that character, though.
Yeah, but
I can't remember where I've read that.
Yeah, I've heard it too.
Yeah, I've heard it, but
he is a cranky bitch, so I guess it makes sense.
They have the same hat, like the
indeed
the crest.
It's been a while. What's going on with you?
He's gonna sue us.
What's new in the Unfunny Nerd Tangent universe?
I can hear Mike Seibert banging down the door already.
I'm Mike Seibert, and that's my thing.
Yeah, I do that. I'm friends with everyone. Unfunny Nerd Tangent. We sort of hit a little bit of a hiatus towards the end of the year, but we're back now. We have a recent episode where we went over the new Black Panther movie and the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special. Just a bit of fun there. So, and we'll be back on track for 2023 with a bit more regular schedule with Jared, and usually we try and do 2 a month, so bi-weekly, as you like to say.
It doesn't look too far off of that, because you have that one, and then your She-Hulk stuff was just last month, right?
Yeah, this was the biggest gap we've had in a little while. It was about 5 or 6 weeks, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there's lots of stuff we still haven't covered, which we're probably looking at. Like, we're way behind on Top Gun, for instance, but we'll get to it.
I haven't seen it yet, so
people seem to like it.
I'll be ready for it.
Yeah. Avatar's obviously out, so we'll probably go see that.
I'll skip that episode.
I hear Violent Night is good. So
yeah, I need to go. West and I want to go see that.
Need to see that. I've been watching Wednesday.
That's a great show.
Could be a show. And Mike Seibert and the missing man here, Caleb, keep telling me to finish watching Andor. So there he is. He's here.
Caleb just walked in.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. You'd think with 3 vehicles that I could find a way to get here, but
He rode his bike.
It looks like you did.
I did. I had to borrow my dad's truck. So, yeah.
Nice.
Well, anyway, I live in a world where there's, I guess, vehicles everywhere, so I made it work.
It sounds like you live in the first world.
Yes, I live in the first world.
You missed a great recap of a Jack Nicholson movie.
Which one?
The most relevant one to this episode we're recording.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, right?
That's the one. Nailed it.
You were assigned the Christopher Lloyd character.
Oh! That's my Christopher Lloyd impersonation.
Perfect.
Great Scott!
Oh!
You sound like Al Pacino doing Christopher Lloyd.
Hoo-ah! Hoo-ah, Marty!
He just finished Inside Marty.
Oh, God.
Oh.
Well, so you are publishing on the regs TF Reanimated still.
Mm-hmm.
What's the problem with those damn Petro rabbits?
They're everywhere. Yeah, that's issue 41 in a row every month.
How is that wearing on your soul?
Yeah, it's good. I like it. It's I mean, we're way ahead, so it's kind of, it's not like a rush to sort of go, we got to finish the issue for this month. It's like we got like 20 of them sitting there. So
That's
Nice.
awesome. That's a big bank.
it's just a matter of Yoshi sorting out which artist he wants to use for the cover art, and we do some re-edits and stuff like that. So, but yeah, Petro Rabbits, we're sort of in the what could you say? We're in the mold now of let's look back and fill in the gaps of some of Cup's war stories. So
That's cool.
Petro Rabbits is the first one, and we'll definitely be looking at some more as far as some of the other references he drops sort of casually in the movie. So
Do you guys have a concept of what a Petro Rabbit looks like?
I do now.
There's a cover.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. By Livio, I'm always messed up the last name, Ramondelli. Livio Ramondelli, is that correct?
Yep, he did some great. We gave him a bit of leeway too. We just kind of went, look, we sort of reckon it could look kind of like this, but
Yeah.
what do you want to draw?
That's cool.
And he came up with a sort of a semi-organic, part
Rabbit.
living, part robot rabbit creature. So
Nice.
I kind of thought it was a Beast Wars-esque aesthetic. It's shrunken down.
we based it. I know Yoshi. I don't know if he's as big a Star Trek fan as I am, but I think so. He definitely likes his Trek. But we sort of based this issue on the whole Tribbles episode of the classic Treks. Obviously, that's where the title comes in. The problem with Petro Rabbits, the trouble with Tribbles. So, and the cover is an homage to that sort of classic picture of Kirk holding the Tribble with his fancy green captain shirt. So we thought, why not? We'll throw Cup in there.
And this was, in your timeline, the introduction of Cup, right?
Yeah, he appears as a vision ghost in our Christmas episode or issue that we did a couple of years ago, where Trax is basically Scrooge and he gets visited by the ghosts and has his little dream sequence. But as far as actual appearances as like a, if you want to call it quote unquote, like present day continuity for our series, this is where he shows up. And if you like Cup, the next few months it's Cup heavy.
I love it.
There's 2 cups, 1 girl, strangely
God.
enough, is how we do this one.
And funnily enough, this was the issue I remember talking to you guys about years ago, where when you guys reviewed whatever the issue, the episode of Transformers was, where DevCon, the bounty hunter,
Yeah, he's back.
turned up, we're like, hey, he just kind of disappears. What happened to him? So he's in this
Nice.
issue as well. So we brought him back.
Although
Although he was in an earlier one, but this is like the main sort of gist of it. He turned up in one of our issues with Abominus and Double Dealer and a whole bunch of other random characters. But yeah, this one you get to see DevCon and Cup as a team. So,
Although he's ditched, what's the little squirrely guy's name?
Slizzardo.
Lizardo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how they came up with that. It's so clever.
Why aren't they together anymore? What's the backstory there?
We did. I can't remember how we got rid of him. He turns up in season 3, funnily enough, but DevCon doesn't.
At some point, there's a parting of ways.
Yeah, I know we definitely addressed it in the issue, but it was pretty much just like a throwaway line, like, oh yeah, I don't hang out with him anymore.
Turns out taking him on wasn't the best idea after all.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
Well, I love how you fold in characters from the future throughout the series, and I know in this one there's Double Dealer, the Fire Cons. I never even heard of Skyquake. Apparently that's like a deep cut, but super evil character.
G2. Part of the fun of this as well is we've sort of been able to grab characters and go, okay, they're characters in Transformers lore, but only as far as G1 goes. Because I know Skyquake appears in, I think, one of those CG animated shows. It might have been Prime or something like that, like the Netflix one. But he's completely different than the classic toy and that sort of stuff. And because he was technically G2, so he's bright colors, he's orange and he's got aqua and pink and shit like that, which doesn't make any sense, but whatever. So we were like, well, there's all these characters where they had toys. People know of them fans at least know of them by name and stuff like that, but they were never in the cartoon. But they were around when the cartoon was on.
Mm-hmm.
So let's do something with them. And as we're sort of diving more into that sort of stuff, the next 10 to 12 issues of Reanimated, there's a lot of these sort of characters popping up.
This is a slippery slope, Greg. You're going to have Beast Wars characters in here before long.
No, we're ignoring Beast Wars.
Is that advice that you would recommend other Transformers content creators to take?
Yes.
No. Everybody's very excited on this side of the table.
New APDC button idea. Just says it's just white background, black letters. Ignoring Beast Wars.
You guys could not be more wrong,
Mate.
Well,
ignoring Beast Wars, comma, mate. Although I know friend of your show and friend of my show, Moondog, Greg Murray, he's a big Beast Wars guy.
Yeah.
So
he's
very excited. You guys
I've decided,
There's a vocal minority.
Yeah.
It's true.
Hey, you know what? Over the years, I've discovered we're great at talking about bad content as much as good content. So might as well just go for it.
Whatever. We'll be doing it in about a year, depending on breaks.
Yeah, it's fine.
The excitement is just palpable over here on this end. You guys
he's a wrestler.
From my booby.
Moondog is a wrestler, Caleb. So if you're looking to tag out, you could tag him in. He could take your place.
Yeah. I mean, we'll definitely have him on the show, but I shouldn't probably break up the posse
Bring
here.
him on.
But
you
make a good point.
Ryan Moondog, the pro Beast Wars versus the anti.
But when he comes in, I'll definitely use the whole tag in, tag out moniker.
I'm sure he'll love it.
Yeah. Why wouldn't he?
I don't know.
I must say I'm not anti Beast Wars. It's just we're.
It doesn't make your dick hard.
When I was doing research for Reanimated as to what you can and can't do, as far as you can't kill that guy because he's in the movie, and you can't do this, you can't do that. I looked into Beast Wars to see if it was considered canon and all that kind of stuff, and it's not really. So,
I thought it was.
Well, at least season 2 it gets into G1.
Yeah, but there's multiple.
It's timeline wise, it's all
stuff,
over the place. So it's a little difficult.
It could be if you want it to be, but it doesn't have to be. It's
I guess we'll see how it goes.
3
they
seasons
pull
of that.
stuff from the Marvel comics too. See, so it's is it carrying on from the Marvel comics? Is it carrying on from the G1 cartoon? It's sort of a mix of everything. So.
And the interesting thing about the Marvel comics is, they're not canon to the cartoon, except for when you fold in the UK, because I feel like the UK is canon to the cartoon because it's like an alternate timeline where they're all reacting to the things that happened to the movie in the movie. So I don't know. It's a weird,
closer,
it's an alternate timeline, but that timeline does get mixed in at some points into the Marvel world.
It'll be fun.
We'll do it. We're gonna do it, Ryan. Okay, we're gonna do it.
We've talked about. Well, it'll be an interesting change up because I've never seen it. That's why it's so great that I'm talking trash on something I've never seen.
I think you'll like it more than you think you will.
You're probably right, and it'll be a nice change up to. This is all nostalgic.
It'll be new to all.
This content's been nostalgic. This content won't really be nostalgic for me, so it'll be interesting how that's approachable. And also in the real world, we'll skip up to the 90s.
That's true.
Or
That'll
the prehistoric. You could do prehistoric era.
That's weird. Let's talk about trilobites.
At this time in the Triassic period.
Beast Wars does. This is not a huge. I won't say anything.
All right, don't.
I'm not sure when it comes in that Beast Wars takes place, so I don't want to get ahead of it.
So, Greg, you got 20 episodes in the can, or I guess issues in the can, rather. I think we've asked about this before, but how do you, just real high level, how do you map this stuff out from a storyline perspective and make decisions? Okay, here's where I'm going to inject this character from season 3 that we have no backstory on. Does it just kind of come to you and you just let it flow from writing, or do you create an outline with a tangled web, or what? What's the process?
Sort of a bit of both. Early on, we kind of were like, well, we know we're going. Well, we have a starting point, which is basically the end of season 2, and we have an end point, which is the movie. So you got to look at what changes, happen or occur, or don't happen or occur, depending on what you're looking at. And so we pretty much just kind of went, well, all right, like for instance, there's a whole bunch of characters that just disappear. So you're like, all right, and most of them are some of my favorites, which sucks. But anyway. There's no more Red Alert. There's no more tracks. Jazz pretty much goes. Grimlock turns into a pet, which he does in season 3 at least. So it's like, well, okay, so there's a list of characters that disappear. So there's a question, and then you go, well, all right, then there's a whole bunch of characters that just suddenly appear. So like Ultra Magnus, Springer, RC, even to a degree like Cup and those sorts of guys, basically all the new cast in the movie. So there's a question as well, like where did they come from, or have they been around the whole time, or whatever. So you pretty much just sort of went through stuff like that and was like question, and then pick off answers. Yeah, and then in between that, we were kind of like, well, let's use it as an excuse to focus on stuff that wasn't focused on before. Like we brought back the female Transformers and stuff like that. Like they've appeared, like Elita 1 and Moonracer, those characters. They've appeared like quite a few times in our stories now, and they're kind of just part of the run-of-the-mill like crew.
Right.
So, but they're not around ever again as far as the movie in season 3 and stuff goes. So again, question, well, you got to figure out an answer. So that's the sort of thing that, you start on one story thread and then you're like, oh shit, this is like unraveled into 10 other questions. So you got to fill them in. So it's part pre-planned, and some of it just sort of comes out of, like we said, you write a script to answer question A, and it creates 3 more questions, or it ties in with other things.
Well, we look forward to the issue where you neuter Grimlock and turn him into the docile creature he is today.
Yeah, I heard he gets lobotomized after strangling Ratchet.
Sounds like a perfect twist.
Yeah, and then Raoul throws the water fountain through the window and runs off into the bushes.
Well, where can people find you? Where can people get their hands on all this content where you answer the questions that everybody was asking, but in an unofficial basis?
TransformersReanimated.com is where you'll find everything to do with that project with myself and Yoshi. And, of course, podcast-wise, Unfunny Nerd Tangent. We have unfunnynerdtangent.com, of course, but, anywhere you're listening. Like if you're listening to this podcast, you'll be able to get ours.
Go into the search bar, type in the words.
That's right. Yep.
Click play to find out the hot takes on Wakanda Forever.
That's right. We don't have a fancy Patreon, but still, listen to us.
We don't have a fancy one either.
I can guarantee you won't get a button from it.
Wow, that's the Unfunny Nerd Tangent promise.
Yeah. No products.
It's easy to keep.
Well, Ryan, why don't you hook our heads up to Planet Alcohol?
I'd be glad to.
All right.
Well, we have a bias drink cocktail for this episode, gentlemen. Woo! It is from our friend Chandler, and it's a drink from a Tech 9 song, the titular Caribou Lou. I hear it's the ultimate party favor. Aaron, how do you feel about
Kansas City, Missouri?
How do you feel about Tech 9?
I should listen to him more. He is one of those fast rappers. He raps real speedy.
I didn't even bother to listen to the song.
But no, I think he's one of these cats that's never really gotten mainstream success, but he's been out there doing it forever, has a big cult following. But he's from Kansas City, Missouri, so respect there.
Well, this is a drink he talks. He basically raps about this drink, and it's all about the drink in the song. He kind of gives us measurements, but they're pretty vague. He says half a bottle of 151 in a jug, 1 cup of Malibu, and fill the rest of the jug with pineapple juice. So half a bottle is 375 milliliters, and 1 cup is 237 milliliters. I don't think a jug is an official measurement, so I kind of just guessed on how to make this.
It is down here.
It's a streets measurement.
I'd say like I'd probably like a gallon. Is probably what I'm thinking.
A grip,
Maybe, yeah.
1.5.
So the Caribou Lou is 1.5 ounces or 45 mils of 151. They don't make Bacardi 151 anymore, so I used Lemon Heart 151. 1 ounce or 30 mils of coconut rum. I used Cruzan because Malibu I find to be gross and sweet. And then 3 to 4 ounces or 90 to 120 milliliters of pineapple juice. Combine the rums in a shaker with ice, shake and pour into a highball over fresh ice, and then fill with pineapple juice. You could, of course, shake all the ingredients like a normal fruit drink. You could build it in a glass. This is just what I chose to do. So
you didn't follow Mr. Nine's instructions at all, it sounds like.
I didn't want to make a jug full of this.
We'd finish it.
I just pared it down.
Okay. Let's cheers. Tech 9! That's how you got to say it.
Oh.
That's the thing that the people
That's
do.
Takashi. Is that Takashi?
No.
Nope.
No, different guy.
Tech Nine's its own thing.
Who's Takashi guy?
Takashi
Takashi's
6ix9ine?
from New York.
Oh, that's
and
6ix9ine.
6ix9ine!
Getting my nines mixed up.
Yeah, no respect for Takashi 6ix9ine. Caleb, what's the verdict?
It's good. Oddly, I wouldn't call it refreshing.
Really? Wow.
It's awful. I can really taste the booze in it.
Feels beachy to me.
Yeah, I mean coconut,
Of course,
pineapple.
it's. I've been drinking. I'm also drinking coffee at the same time.
Your taste buds are
So
altered.
it's fruity.
I'll say it. It's refreshing.
Okay. I don't know why. I'm just kind of off. It's.
I'm taking over duties.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you should probably garnish it with a pineapple wedge, but I didn't have any pineapple, so. But yeah, thanks, Chandler, for buying us a fun cocktail. And
Yeah.
if you would like to
It's
buy
good.
us a drink, you can go to PayPal and PayPal us $5 at APODcast and tell me what you want me to make, and I will make that drink on a future episode.
And while we're in the gratitude mood, let's shout out all our patrons we have in the world. We've got Alpha Magnus, Debbie, Jeremy, Skeeter, Mr. Sadler, the Mike Seibert Radio Experience, Bono, Michael Trimblett, Justin, who loves fans' toys, Jonathan, Robinus Prime, Classic Daniel V, the Sophubiest of Samurai. We've also got Chandler, Jay Soups, Maddie V, Nick, the Toy Mad Dad, not to be confused with the Toy Ambivalent Mom. We have
Zing.
Ken Bockelman, Big Ken, DFB Greg Murray, Captain Alexis Corey, James and Julia, Mr. Michael Ordway, Tim Dubs, Jason from Cracktastic Plastic, Tommen,
Jerry.
we need. Let's go with Thomas, Justin, who loves Iron Factory. We've got Triclops, Alex, Simon, Squid King, New Daniel, and Seven the Chronicler. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate you. If you'd like to join up, peep the Patreon at patreon.com/APODcast. See the benefits. See if they align to your spending habits and budget. Times are tight. We understand that. And also, if you join up, we've got the Discord with all kinds of chat and topics, toys, general chat, cocktails. Is this music? I think it is. Greg, we keep saying we're going to throw you on there because we are going to invite all the show contributors. So I think we just need to send you a link. I don't know if you've ever messed around on Discord.
Yes. I got to be what do you call it? Not a host.
Mod?
Or I had like a guest privileges or whatever for it's not TFCon, but like one of the
Transmissions?
internet cons.
Oh.
No.
Are you because you guys had a presentation
Sidefest.
What
Yeah,
was it?
we got Sidefest.
No, I think you're thinking of IACon.
Yeah, I first joined up via
That's
Iacon. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we have an
that's
AP.
right.
That was that for Discord? Wait. Yeah.
There was a Discord for it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
I'm
got
thinking of
given
Twitch because that was on Twitch.
Wow.
I don't know how technology works, what the kids are up to.
We got given like presenter privileges or whatever you want to call it. So Yoshi and I felt fancy for a day.
Well, you deserved it. And you got some haters, as I recall, but we can go
Okay.
we can go.
Yeah, kind of. How'd that work out, by the way? Yeah.
Hey, we've been
Let's check the stock price. Oh no! Don't forget you can get your new issues. Oh no, you can't anymore. Oh no!
Shots fired, I think, to IDW, but
Okay.
whatever. I'm not trying to get on their good side.
IDW's cool. IDW's cool.
Oh, just maybe some creators.
Do
Ryan,
you want him to name names? What are you doing?
Ryan. Hey, we're just subtweeting. Don't worry about us over here.
Yeah,
Last episode recap. We finally put Daniel to the side to revisit Starscream's Spectre in a head-turning adventure. Today, we're going to all get caught up in Webworld, written by... I think I meant to do something like we're going to get caught up in the web world. That would have been a
Good
little
stuff.
bit nicer.
Yeah, that would have been
written
great.
by Lynn Wein and Diane Duane and animated by Toei and Nakamura Productions.
Yeah, the animation in this one is very good. I mean, it's the tide that lifts all boats coming off an ACOM episode, but I really enjoyed this one. It was very disturbing and fantastic, and I barely took any notes.
Now, do you guys know who written by Len Wein? Do you know who that is?
I have some stuff in script deviations, but I can't. Yeah.
Do you know who it is?
He was a big time comic book writer.
Yeah.
For a long time. Swamp Thing, Wolverine. His run on those was pretty much, and even the X-Men. It was he's kind of looked at as the guy that kind of revitalized and repopularized, if that's a word. X-Men,
Yeah, in the
comics,
70s.
stuff like that. Yeah, and sort of that, a lot of that sort of classic Wolverine stuff that people think of if they think of the comics is down to him. I had seen this episode obviously a couple of times as a kid and stuff, but obviously the names mean nothing as a kid. But then rewatching it, I was like, hey, Len Wein, and then I had to look up to see if it was the same guy, which I assumed it was because it's not like it was Bob Smith or something like that. And so that was cool, I thought. So.
Yeah, he was pretty huge, and I've got a bunch more detail about that. We'll go over in script deviations, but yeah. It was really interesting.
Let's do it now.
Fuck you, scripty.
Well, it makes sense that somebody of some writing notoriety is responsible for this episode because it was a really original and unique episode with a lot of cool dialogue as well. Just to put that up top. Let's get into it. We start off with the core Decepticon crew. We've got Galvatron, Cyclonus, Soundwave is here. Welcome to the show,
Yeah,
Mr.
it was
Wave.
nice to see him, even though his voice is unmodulated and he disappears almost instantly from the episode.
Yeah. And
Well, he's in space.
So, and sweeps are here as well. They're coasting through space. Soundwave ejects Ratbat to scan the scene as they fly through. Yeah, I hate that.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
And I hate your interpretation of it.
You're
maybe
welcome.
more. But his job is to scan the scene as they fly through some kind of rocky asteroid belt. They seem to be seeking isodrite, a material needed to repair their weaponry. We presume that their weaponry just having problems because of the last episode where Trypticon disabled their weaponry. At least that's one excuse I saw.
Yeah, that was a weird
wiki.
one-off line that made no sense. I think that's really reaching, if they want to say that. I think this is just a plot device, but it could be. I mean, they do a lot of callbacks in this one to other stuff. So
They do.
maybe.
Indeed. So this material's needed to fix their weapons. Galvatron's ranting, about crushing enemies or whatever. You get the sense that his madness level is about an 8 or a 9 in this episode. And he has flashing panels. Yeah, it is. Yeah, he's going to start talking about Jews before we know it.
Zionists.
And by the panels are flashing. The anti-Semitic panels are flashing on the sides of his helmet.
They alternate the way they show Galvatron's madness. Early on, it was like sparks, and now his head lights up. So.
Hasbro's pulling their sponsorship.
The unvoice box modulated
Sounds like
Soundwave
Dr. Claw.
reports that Ratbat has found the deposit of isodrite, but there's a gang of Autobots already mining that shit, so we're going to have to attack. Mm-hmm. On that planet, you've got...
What a weird crew.
Yeah,
Skylinks.
it is.
You've got Sludge, Magnus, Perceptor, and Springer. I think it kind of makes sense. You
I
need
guess.
Perceptor to run the science. Springer's your muscle. Sludge, muscle. Skylinks, I don't...
Transport.
Yeah, it sounds right to me. Magnus is heading it up.
All right, I take it all back.
These
All
are,
right.
these are
Good old Skylinks, or as I like to call him, Power Glide Light.
Eyes upward, gentlemen, or something like that.
Yeah.
So the battle happens. It's a pretty good matchup. There's lots of tasty little one-on-ones, but Galvatron is doing most of the work, really, taking out not just Autobots, but his own team, whether it's punching them out of the way or just generally ignoring any kind of strategic approach to the battle. We get to see a good Magnus and Galvatron coupling.
A couple of grapples they have. Yeah.
They toss each other back and forth, get some quality body slams in. Several Decepticons mention to the side that Galvatron just ain't right. It feels like they're setting something up for us here. The Autobots eventually retreat, and they abandon the Isidrite to the Decepticons.
huge.
I
really
hate,
big.
Sometimes they animate the heads on the sweeps in vehicle mode, and it just makes me so annoyed.
I love it. 'Cause
I
it's
know
so
you
silly. It's ridiculous.
It's a pretty dynamic fight. I mean,
it's pretty cool.
Interesting moves. I've never seen.
You've never seen a sweep getting shaken by a giant bird and then thrown around?
And then kicked by a brontosaurus?
Yeah.
Nope, have not.
This is one of the stubby arm cannon
It is.
episodes of Galvatron, which the new X-Transbots Galvatron is on the way. Well, it should be manufactured shortly. They gave us a preview of it at the recent TFCon, and I don't like the stubby arm cannon, but that's what they're giving us.
That shot there, it looked like Galvatron picked up and threw Ultra Magnus by his taint.
Yeah. There's actually, I think, something like that in with Prime and Megatron in one of the season 2 episodes.
There they go.
You never really see the Autobots retreat, so that's kind of a unique
Yeah, it is true.
happening.
I think I have this note later, and I get why they did it. Like, it's an excuse to show how crazy Galvatron is in like fights, but we really don't necessarily need the Autobots at all in this episode because that's the last we see of them.
True.
Yeah, I think it's like somehow they're like, we've got to have the Autobots in here just for a bit. Have there ever been any other episodes where it's exclusively Decepticon or exclusively Autobot?
No.
I don't think so, but there are much more where it's mostly Autobots.
Sure.
There's very rarely mostly Decepticons, and that's why maybe I like this one so much for one thing.
Yeah.
You don't even need the Isidrite subplot at all. It's all there to illustrate that Galvatron's crazy, but he's no crazier in this fight sequence than he is in other ones. I feel like there was an opportunity to amp it up a little bit, but
I feel like
you need something like he has to get into a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to ground
to start with.
You got to ground it in the standard scheme of things where there's Autobot versus Decepticon, and then I guess after that happens, it's acceptable to deviate from that.
he needs to punch a few more of his. Like he's been punching his own guys
Forever.
Like he needs to murder somebody.
Maybe that was
just straight up murder a sweep.
Maybe that was the hook that brings you in.
Yeah.
It's an interesting. We'll get into it. It's a fascinating episode.
I'm glad you paused it here, Aaron, at like 3:40, because we see a far off shot of the Decepticons on Char, and I was trying to figure out who that little robot is, and it's Laserbeak walking on the ground.
Yeah.
It's very weird.
Enjoy it. This is Laserbeak's Swan Song episode.
Good bird play.
So yeah, you got Cyclonus, Motormaster, Swindle, and Little Laserbeak reminiscing about the glory days of Galvatron, which I don't know when those were, the 5 hours he was alive in the movie, I guess. They're lamenting about the fact that his mania is kind of keeping the morale down around the team. And the guys are clear with Cyclonus, hey, you better deal with Galvatron or we're going to fuck you up.
Maybe they need to go on like a paintball retreat.
That's funny.
Team building exercise.
Trust falls. Yeah. I like seeing Swindle. He's
Swindle's
cool.
great.
I like Swindle.
More Swindle, for sure.
Yeah.
Later we see him fixing Galvatron, which I didn't know that was Swindle's bailiwick.
Cyclonus gets the picture that he needs to do something about Galvatron. I think he always got the picture, but he's just never been threatened before. And that's when a Quintesson hologram appears before him, and he's just here to deliver a helpful message. Perhaps Cyclonus should consider taking Galvatron to therapy. There's a planet out there called Torculon, and it exists to help with this kind of stuff. Cyclonus is a little suspicious of the motivation there, but he's also desperate, so he's going to investigate this idea a little further.
Couple of things here. So Torculon, I've never been there, but I've been to Megan the Stallion's planet, Torculon.
No.
Yeah.
How was that?
You're welcome. I don't know. So this is a weird Quintesson communication style we've never seen before. He shows up as like a Star Wars communication hologram.
Yeah.
And also, why would Cyclonus ever trust the Quintessons?
Well,
Aaron says he's desperate. He doesn't
Yeah.
have a choice.
And
Right.
I should
why
say
is the
he does-
Quintesson even bothering? Because he doesn't come back around. It's not like
it really doesn't.
It really doesn't.
It's
it all
almost
turned out to be a plot by the Quintessons to take out Galvatron. No.
well. We're gonna have one more scene with the Quintessons, but none of it really makes sense because they're gonna take him to Torculon, and either Galvatron gets better or he doesn't, and either way, it doesn't really help the Quintessons. I mean, they insinuate that they're trying to take some chess pieces off the board, and I guess
They call him
Galvatron
the
is-
most unpredictable.
Yeah, he's the mad queen of the chessboard. But yeah, I don't know. It doesn't really work out clearly to that plan.
I guess-
if that's what they're thinking.
I guess we had to get there somehow.
Right. Yeah. This next scene is that it's an undisclosed location. The Quintesson ship. Cyclonus is taking the bait, and again, we're not really sure what flim flam they're trying to operate here, but they think somehow or another it's going to help them, take control over Cybertron at the end of the day. So we go back to Char. Galvatron is being repaired by Swindle. Maybe he's just all they got. Who else could do the job?
They don't really have a medical officer, I guess.
Cyclonus plants a seed. The Autobots are building a new planet, and now that Galvatron knows about it, he wants to attack it. Let's go. Post haste.
Let's go get it.
Is that your Galvatron?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
This episode must have been tough on Walker as far as
There's a lot of screaming.
Yeah.
screaming and high pitched,
He's a professional. I guess he knows how not to damage his voice. Like, when I do it, even when I do the Dinobots too much, I fuck my voice up.
I like the color work in this episode. I feel like there's just a bit more pastel to the Decepticons than normal.
Sure.
Nope. Okay.
I don't know. That did not occur to me.
I didn't notice it, so I'm taking your word for it.
There's not much shading. It's just flat.
Yeah, it is. The Decepticons land on Torculon with Galvatron calling out Magnus specifically. But where are these Autobots? Are they in hiding? Galvatron visits several
I love
different
this.
holding pens, each with a variety of creatures with different cerebral quirks that they exhibit.
I love it when the animators get to do a bunch of different weirdos. And these guys, we have Old Gremlin, Mucus Mommy Monster, a 3-headed no-head elf, and a T-Rex. And then we meet Dr. Zaius.
It's great. It's bananas. I like how
I love it.
and I like how Galvatron just charges right at them. He's like, "What are you?
Yeah.
What are you? What are you?"
I like with the first interaction, at the gremlin guy, Galvatron just yells "idiot" and then barely damages the cage he's in.
He's just going bonkers.
The one that keeps repeating, "I have no head, I have no head," reminds me of something Bro Cells might say.
Yeah, I could see
It
that.
felt like a random thing he might do.
It's all it's all absurd. It's absurd to the max. Yeah, for sure. And that's where Bro Cells lives, is in the in the absurd. for
That's his
sure.
wheelhouse.
Yep.
He is the planet of Webworld.
Perhaps. Or he's just a 14-year-old.
I don't know. He's always been that way, though.
Yeah, it's true.
Planet Torculon's true guardians show up. They are, as Ryan referred to, some Planet of the Apes looking motherfuckers that are here to receive and process their new patient. If you guys didn't get it, it's Galvatron.
I feel like the voice acting in this one was particularly good. Especially, I like the voice acting on these ape doctor guys.
Yeah, you had a good mix of voice actors doing them, as we'll get to. All right, well, they have a force field and inhibitor devices that prevent Galvatron from attacking them. As the Torculons begin their initial diagnosis.
You're on notice, bitch.
You're on diagnosis.
Yep.
The purple inpatient admittance comes to understand that Cyclonus has betrayed him, and what the hell are they going to do to him?
Mm-hmm. I do like also the doctor. This is where I was talking about like some of the callbacks. The doctor asks if Galvatron's madness was caused by a plasma accident, which I think was in reference to the time he spent in the pools on Thrall after the movie.
I think you're right.
For sure.
Yep.
We'll get to maybe some discourse that Greg and I have had offline on.
Oh my god!
On this, why is this an oh my god?
Nothing.
It's directly related.
It's true. It's just like no, it's fine. I just
What's going on?
We
Ryan
can cut
and
to
I
the
are-
chase and just say, I'm right.
Ryan and I are fighting for no reason.
It's true.
Is what the
Yeah,
deal
it was
is.
mine.
We go to commercial at this point.
Dateline. Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. America and all the ships at sea. The Autopod Decepticast has news. Let's go to press.
And here it is. Manscaped has an all-new product for the new year. That's right, our sponsor for this episode has the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Manscaped has sent us all enough of that voice. Manscaped sent us all a kit, and I used it last night to shape my mustache. Like the Lawnmower 4.0, I really like this product. Tame your mane by going to manscaped.com and using our code APDC for 20% off and free shipping. The hedger itself has a connected guard with rotary adjustable wheel that gives you 20 cutting lengths without having the annoyance of changing guards, which is a lot of like trimmers I've had to do. And it's waterproof, so you can trim in the shower without scattering cuttings all over the sink. I'm usually like, okay, I definitely got them all, and I clean the sink so well, and then boom, in the morning, a stray jerk beard whisker is staring me in the face. The kit also comes with this dope beard comb, beard shampoo, conditioner, and of course, beard oil. Also, this nice pair of scissors for precision pimping. Pimping, not pimping, primping. Primping. Once again, get 20% off and free shipping on the Beard Hedger Pro Kit by going to manscaped.com and using our code APDC. Manscaped Beard Hedger, one stroke, one guard, 20 lengths. Manscaped.com, code APDC. Now, back to the show.
All right, we're back from commercial. We see Galvatron go through a number of continued diagnostic procedures. Can they help him? Hopefully. Galvatron is creepily transferred to an advanced treatment facility. Basically, this planet has these sort of taffy-like tentacles that just come up out of nowhere and can either bind you up or carry you around. Or
Honestly,
whatever.
being wrapped up like that in bed seems really relaxing.
Yeah.
Like those squeezy thunder jackets they have for dogs during thunderstorms.
Aw.
I don't know. It sounds nice.
Squeezy thunder jackets.
It sounds nice.
I like all the paperwork that he's having him sign.
Yeah, where there's a thumbprint on like 50 different pieces of paper.
I can relate. I've been there.
This scene is a golden example of committing to the bit.
It's true.
It is.
And
It
here's
is.
your copy.
I would have. I'm surprised there wasn't like an iPad screen and he got sent the docs via PDF. But this is real paper on this planet.
We're not hearing it, but I will say the music in this episode is fucking awesome.
Is there a particular scene?
It's just a lot of really good like season 3 like dynamic music.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'd appreciate this particular paperwork bit as a kid as I do now as an adult. So it's there are certain aspects about this episode that seem more adult.
There are references to like sideways references to actual therapy styles.
For sure. Mm-hmm. And this is a direct reference to how big a pain it is to deal with anything in the medical industry.
See, I didn't understand this part because he was like, pay? What?
Sure, whatever.
For healthcare?
Oh, I see.
Yes.
This is
Wow.
pay for healthcare?
Are you insinuating some countries do it better, Greg?
Most of them.
No.
We see Galvatron. First off, he gets sedated, and he's going to do some talk therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And all he can do is say synonyms for carnage, annihilation, destruction.
Mm-hmm.
This is where they refer to the plasma accident, possibly referring to the dip that he took in Thrall. And I guess, let's just get it out of the way. One of the questions that we have going back and forth on is Galvatron just Megatron in a new body, or is there something distinct? Is he like a multiple? I mean, he is Galvatron, literally, but is there something about his personality that's different? Like, is it a multiple personality thing? Has he had a split or something. And Greg, you've advocated that it is just Megatron. It is just Megatron in a new body with a new name. But the reason he is the way he is because he fried his circuits in those plasma baths, right? We're on the same page.
In the movie,
Let me just say it.
in the movie, he's straight up Megatron, purple Megatron, who's had enough of all the shit. Like he's just got no more. He's got no time for any shit anymore because he nearly died. So he's just like, you know what? Fuck you, Starscream. I'm not dealing with your shit anymore.
Here's a hint.
He even says, "Here's a hint."
Right.
It says like, Megatron, is that you? Here's a hint.
He has awareness that he's Megatron.
Yeah, he's got beef. He's
But
got
he doesn't
beef.
feel like he has awareness in season 3.
And see, no, because he's been driven insane. So
It's been
there's
suppressed.
no rhyme or reason to anything he does really in season 3, because then you could argue he's not himself if you wanted, in the same sense that you could say like anyone that has
Right.
mental problems or whatever you want to call it isn't technically themselves, like insane. If that's, I don't know, is it one of those things where insane is not a medical term, it's a legal term or something, whatever it is. I'm just going to say, if you're a crazy person isn't really
At one point, they were a version of themselves that they're now
responsible.
not.
Yeah, exactly. Like if a crazy person isn't, at what point do you say that crazy person like is Bob not Bob anymore because he's
Well, and in
whack
beginning,
out.
brain injuries in general can completely change someone's personality.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So,
What do we think is the closest analog to what his condition is? Is he schizophrenic? Is he?
I don't really like to guess on diagnosis.
He's got some.
We'll let the Torculons do it then.
Yeah. He's got some. Seems like he's got serious anger issues.
Oh yeah,
Right? It
Yeah.
seems that way. Yeah.
maybe
he definitely
bipolar.
has.
I don't know.
He's quick to rage.
He definitely has some
But
frontal
they-
cortex, prefrontal cortex damage, like most of your serial killers. I don't know.
I can't remember if it was that first, like if it was in Five Faces of Darkness or whether it was a different episode, but there is one episode mentions that like his, because of the plasma bath and the damage he takes, like his agony circuits or something like that are on all the time. So basically like he's in pain 24/7, and so that's why he's just been driven mad, like that kind of thing. Like the raging lion kind of thing. You pull the thorn out of its foot and it'll calm down, that kind of shit.
Well, that's dark as hell.
So
It's.
I can't remember if it was. There is somewhere in that. I'll have to look that up. There is.
I'm sympathetic. I sympathize with like
I might look on the wiki while we're doing this.
with him and with the other Decepticons. Yeah, I feel sorry for him. It's weird. It's a strange episode. Well, that's not the first time I felt sorry for Galvatron in a weird way. I sympathize with Megatron in the movie.
Interesting.
Well, we assume Megatron has all of his faculties. He's just evil.
Yeah.
But
Right. But even when
it's hard because you want to be sensitive
yeah,
around talking about things like just mental problems that people have and try to normalize it and not, I don't know, use it as. But it's so also strange because there's things that I don't know if it's okay to, like, we say the word crazy all the time. That's crazy, or this is crazy, or this is nuts.
you're
And it's
crazy,
like-
man.
and
You're
so-
crazy.
So it just feels like, in a way, that it is. There's like, how do you get over the stigma of mental of mental problems? But yet at the same time they exist, and we have to acknowledge it. And I think we all believe, like, you want to normalize at least the discussion around it, but at the same time you don't want to normalize. You don't
Well,
want to just let it fly, right? It should be
it's-
treated. We operate under the assumption that people don't want to be that way.
It's the old adage of mental illness is not your fault, but it is your responsibility.
Sure. This thing just got
This reminds me of that.
Well, you're right. It is his responsibility to not murder his people
Yeah.
as a result of his illness. I mean, I guess Megatron would beat on his people all the time, so this is just taken up to the extreme.
It's an interesting approach. I'd be interesting to know more about the writer's own history with therapy.
I don't have that in script
Is
deviation.
there
Right.
anything about those old
Yeah.
Wolverine comics that gives us any more insight? Probably not. All right.
Well, Wolverine has his own mental issues because he
Yeah.
doesn't remember who
He
he
doesn't
is.
remember who he is.
Yep.
he has PTSD from experiments and things like that. So
you could say that. Could you say that that Galvatron has PTSD?
And Swamp Thing, although it wasn't Len Wein Swamp Thing, it was Alan Moore Swamp Thing. That delves into the whole thing of like Alec Holland is the scientist who falls into the swamp and becomes Swamp Thing, and then Alan Moore took it and went, no.
Mm-hmm.
Alec Holland fell into the swamp and died, and then his DNA and whatever grew in the swamp, and this new entity was born or created, which is Swamp Thing, who thinks he's Alec Holland, but he isn't.
Yeah.
Well, then now you can bring that back to Galvatron, though, right? Like, is he a new entity post being in the plasma bath?
And thinks he's Megatron?
Well, he doesn't know what he is, but that would be a distinction.
Yeah.
But
see, my only thing with the whole like why if Unicron says to Megatron, "I'll give you a new body," and he does,
Yeah.
and then everything carries on as if it's the same character.
But that's the rabbit's paw. That's the gets
Rabbit's
also
paw.
the thing that or the monkey's
Monkey's paw.
What is the...
Petro rabbit's paw.
The monkey's paw is it also gave him this lunacy potentially.
Yeah, but at what point? I don't see why it would, like, in what circumstance would you then? I'm going to kill you and recreate you as a new entity entirely, who thinks it's the old entity. Just put the brain in a new body.
So
And maybe the death of Unicron also like that link that he has between Unicron because it's been severed also contributes. But they do say plainly in this episode that there's some plasma-based issues, and so maybe I'm just trying to.
it's interesting.
I've just been looking on the
weeds.
It's interesting to talk.
I've just been looking on the wiki as well, and I can't find anything about this agony circuits switched on or anything. So I don't know where that came from.
Who's the writer?
I've heard it somewhere. So stay tuned.
What is the writer's name again?
It's
Len
two writers,
Wein.
Lynn Wein and Diane Duane.
Okay, thanks.
I'm sure this will come back up again in conversation. We'll keep it moving forward. I think we haven't even really got to or have we passed the other therapy yet?
No, we haven't gotten there.
the building.
He hasn't even been
signed the
committed
paperwork.
yet.
Yeah. The building therapy is my favorite.
And this is where they're analyzing, and they're like, here is where the problem is, in his brain.
His brain, yeah. It says here, he's not really a cannon, he's just mimicking a cannon.
So real quick, Diane Duane.
Yeah.
She's an American science fiction and fantasy author, blah, blah, blah. After school, she studied nursing and practiced as a psychiatric nurse for 2 years until 1976 when she moved to California. She's from Ireland.
Oh, okay.
She's from
I
Ireland.
didn't have that note.
She's from Ireland. So, yeah, she's actually got psychiatric
Some understanding here.
Yeah.
Which would make
plays
sense
into her
in light
writing
of how some of these therapies are legitimate therapies that we see used.
Yep.
I mean, you would do research as a writer anyway, but maybe it came more naturally to her.
and more first-person experience with it.
All right, talk therapy. I think we already covered the general discussion. All Galvatron can talk about are negative things. And eventually he's going to break free from his restraints and kind of, I think, attempt to assassinate his therapist, but he's shot with those inhibitor beams once again. So it's deemed that this sort of therapy is not going to progress things forward very much at this point.
After one session, they're like, nah. I mean, I get it to move the episode forward.
Right. I think in reality there would be several sessions. I would have loved to have seen Galvatron in group therapy. They missed an opportunity.
They kind
for
of do that in the arena. Like,
yeah, I guess so.
This
I
is
didn't
where
think
Red
of it like
Alert
that.
ends up.
So now it's time for what they call psychomotor reintegration, but I consider it art therapy.
Yeah.
Galvatron has got some loose parts and he is playing with them a little bit until he assembles a pistol and he blasts away in the room and maybe hits a patient or two. And the technician and maybe some technicians before he gets that inhibitor blast at him once again. He is rapidly exhausting his therapeutic alternatives here. I mean, way to
It would've
make a
been funny
pistol
if
out
you
of random
made-
parts.
Yeah.
It would have been funny if he made the Megatron gun. Started shooting that around.
I just have some connection to this form.
Yeah, that's all right. Finally, I can shoot myself as a gun.
The ultimate fantasy. Finally, we have exodrama, which maybe is group therapy, but Galvatron stands restrained on a huge stage, similar kind of theater of Dionysus type vibes going on here, and he's here to act out his trauma. There's a screaming fellow patient, which drives Galvatron into a
He
rage.
does not care for this guy.
I don't either,
No.
frankly. Don't love it.
This is not helpful.
Here.
How is this helpful?
Let's capture this.
Okay.
Act out their problems.
Yeah, that's accurate.
I'm feeling his pain.
Yeah. Shut
They
the
should've
fuck
put
up.
It should have been Wheelie.
Wheelie say get well today.
Yeah.
I'll murder you. He breaks free. He, being Galvatron, breaks free from his bonds once again. The inhibitor ray at this point, they've shot him so much with it, it has no effect on him.
Yep, he's becoming nearer to it.
The ground itself comes alive as the taffy-like tentacles continue to enrobe him and attempt to keep him subdued. Is there no more this planet can do for him? Well, there are more radical therapies available to normalize him.
Mm-hmm.
The last option is called Maximal intervention, which will cure his processing problem. But what more might it do to him, Ryan?
The procedure may also cure him of being Galvatron. It's basically a lobotomy, to my understanding.
Yeah.
Which,
We don't know that yet.
No, but that's immediately what I thought. I'm like, they say he can be normalized by more radical means, and I thought, oh, is this a lobotomy situation? Lobotomies are horrible things. Dr. Walter Freeman was a monster.
Do lobotomies, they don't exist today, right? That is
yeah,
not a
they
practice.
do. Not really
Is
in
it
the
more
same
chemical
way.
than it is surgical?
I think it's just a very unusual treatment because it's so... we usually use drugs now instead of surgery. But they were doing them regularly up until the 60s. The most famous probably being JFK's sister, Rosemary Kennedy, who got a prefrontal lobotomy when she was 23 and was reduced to the brain function of a 2-year-old.
Fun.
Yeah, lobotomies were just... Go look at Dr. Walter Freeman. He was a monster.
Okay.
That is the inventor of the procedure?
Not the inventor, but the guy who made them. Basically, he was the Henry Ford of lobotomies. He was the one who pioneered the ice pick technique, and also, he was like just loved it. Like he basically his initial idea was good, but then he basically fell in love with becoming famous and used to do lobotomies, and like regularly things would happen, like the ice pick would sink into a patient's brain because he was taking a picture of himself doing the operation, shit like that. Also, he didn't wear gloves or wash his hands because he didn't like the germ theory.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's real bad stuff.
So the ice pick was his hammer and everything was a nail.
The first ice pick surgery was one he brought from his kitchen. And also, he was not a surgeon. He was a psychiatrist.
Medical industry.
I could talk about
The early
lobotomies for a
days.
long time. Horrible. Anyway, I'm fun at parties.
Until we get you that lobotomy.
Lobotomy.
You're on the list, Ryan.
I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy.
We go to commercial. Hey, guys. Do you have hairy balls? We've got the product for you.
That's right. This is your second reminder to go to manscaped.com and check out their new Beard Hedger Pro Kit, friends. This kit is very cool. I will put up a picture of what they sent us on the webpage for this episode. Use our code APDC for 20% off plus free shipping. From beard curation to a fresh shave, this kit will tame your mane. The titanium-coated T-blade slices through hair like butter, but is gentle on your skin, and with 20 different blade links on the attached guard, grooming doesn't need to be hard. I've been growing out my mustache and used it last night to get everything in apple pie order. It's true, though. It works really well. There's this fun little zipper pouch for the hedger, plus lots of other extras like beard oil to glisten up your beard and provide moisture to the skin of your face. Once again, go to manscaped.com and enter our code APDC for 20% off plus free shipping. Now, back to the show.
We come back from commercial. Some insectoid creatures are present and have sort of manifested from the ground of the planet. We learn that these are the Alia, which are extensions of Torculon, which itself is a living planet. These bugs are going to munch down on Galvatron's meta-processing units. Yes, here's where we come to realize it's definitely a robotic lobotomy.
It's fucking gruesome. It is pretty cool they made the planet, like, biomechanically alive. I thought that was neat. Kind of a neat touch, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, it's a pretty dark turn.
It sort of makes him, I guess, a cousin to Unicron in a way, just the idea that a planet is... Alive, yeah. I mean, this continuity has no Primus or any of that sort of lore. Like, we really don't know. Well, I guess we will eventually learn where Unicron comes from, but we'll revisit
in
that.
a fucking horrible, stupid way.
Realizing what's happening, Cyclonus and Scourge demand Galvatron be released. They rush to save him, but they themselves are restrained.
Mm-hmm. They have realized too late that we've reached a point of no return where basically, they're unmaking Galvatron.
Yeah, the Alia, they approach Galvatron, and they have to somehow... They're basically connecting Galvatron to the internal brain of the planet itself, and once Torculon makes that connection, it's going to cure Galvatron.
And eat his madness.
But then essentially... I don't know exactly how it works. At that point, the bugs are free to eat the processing units.
Yeah, I think it means just like they consume his brain, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Can't have brain damage without a brain.
Yeah. Cyclonus says he'll just be a robot. He won't be a person anymore, basically.
Empty vessel. But aren't we all that in a way?
Have you been reading my diary?
I'm just Megatron.
As Galvatron is operated on by the Alia, Cyclonus calls out for his leader. There's a lot of pain and tenderness in these moments. Galvatron calls back. The planet finally has access to Galvatron. The Alia are called on to begin their feast, but it turns out Galvatron's madness is too strong even for the planet Torculon to contain. The planet becomes unstable, starts to shake apart, having become infected with Galvatron's mania.
Madness, yeah. That's so fucking awesome. I just like that detail.
Yeah.
Caleb texted this to us, and I agree. This may be one of my favorite episodes of Transformers, certainly of season 3.
It really kept my this might come off odd, but it kept my attention. Like, some of them I get I watch them and
You
they're
fall asleep.
fine, or fall asleep, or I get bored, but or indifferent.
Right.
This one really kept my attention the whole time.
I
I
agree.
was really interested in what was going to happen next.
Invested, you'd say.
Yeah. So for that, I really thought it was one of my favorite episodes so far, because I just really was bought into the whole invested. It's a great word.
It is also, you kind of alluded to this also, Aaron, of like Cyclonus does genuinely seem to care about Galvatron. Like,
Yeah, if he didn't care, he would have just figured out how to kill him instead of trying to cure him. When Galvatron takes over the planet, I don't know if taking over the planet is exactly accurate, but creates the instability. He somehow frees Cyclonus and Scourge, who then follow through with freeing Galvatron. Galvatron's still a little pissed at them for being forced into this facility, but he has priorities, and that priority is to find the brain center of this planet.
because he says whenever the planet was in his brain, he was also in the planet's brain, so he knows where it is.
Right. The Decepticons fly over the planet. They avoid all the confectionery tentacles attempting to grab them. When Galvatron's mind, as Ryan said, he knows the secrets of the planet and where the mind is located. They make their way to that brain housing, which is very strange, robotic looking.
That's why I was thinking it was
apparatus.
like biomechanical or something.
I wouldn't have thought that until then, but Yeah, I was expecting like a pulsating.
This also feels like a
mother brain.
video game. I was gonna say it feels like Metroid, where you go and fight Mother Brain.
There's a lot of different ways to kind of talk about this. Like it's a metaphor for him digging into his own mind in a way.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah, because I guess his mind and the planet's mind are one at this point.
That's some terrible running. Sorry, the animation of Galvatron running was really silly. Overall, I do like this animation, though.
I would have liked this, I think, a little bit better if they had used this episode to almost like cure Galvatron.
Yeah,
Right.
I agree.
It's
I saw
in a
some of that in the
fucked up
comments.
way, like in a fucked up way, it ends up working, but only because he merges with the planet and then fucks it up. You know what I mean? Like, and he, by destroying the Torculon part, like he separates it from himself or whatever, and that pulls out all the sane stuff or whatever, you know. So
It's almost like you're a writer, Greg.
People in the comments section of this video were saying things like, I was really looking forward to this being the end of the insane Galvatron arc, and disappointed to discover that wasn't the case.
it's like, nope, you got to wait for the 30 seconds after the return of Optimus Prime.
And then when you go into Headmasters, I think he's just as insane as
Like he's just crazy
was.
again, yeah.
Galvatron walks confidently through all the traps and and the things that are impediments to them reaching the brain, but he destroys it, goes cannon mode, blasts it, and now he's going to destroy the whole planet, which they don't show him doing. We get kind of a 1 hour later, and we see that
Cyclonus is kind of over it, too, because Galvatron's like, it's only going to be centuries before they rebuild. I'm going to fuck it up more. And he's like,
Right.
can't we get past this? We
Yeah.
have other things to deal with.
Yeah, he's laid waste to the planet for the most part. Cyclonus convinces Galvatron, "Hey, let's give it a break. After all, there's still Ultra Magnus and the Autobots to deal with." And off they go.
It does feel like where you have to like dangle something in front of your boss to distract them from like maybe
like
this
bullshit that
task
they're
is
trying to get you to
ridiculous.
do.
Exactly.
Another comment I saw on the YouTube was that this is, and I like it, it was a missed opportunity throughout all these therapies for Megatron's consciousness to fully reveal itself,
True.
if even just for a minute.
That could have
two.
been a fun two-parter.
Yeah, for sure. But so they depart the planet, I guess, to go hunt Autobots, and that's the end of the episode.
It really ends abruptly.
Yeah, if they had stretched this out to a two-parter, you could have had a whole like we're going into
Galvatron's brain.
Galvatron's brain, and
That would have been
and
cool because
things
then you
like
could have
that,
like
and-
met Megatron and Galvatron
Yeah.
inside his brain. Yeah.
And maybe they could have fought each other,
Or so. Yeah.
metaphorically.
it's all
Represent
in
who
his
has
head.
control over his psyche. Golly,
That'd be cool.
we'd be so much better at this. Give me a typewriter. So yeah, that's it. A couple of new characters to talk about. No new voice actors. We had of the Torculi. We have Paul Eating as who does Perceptor, was one of them. Stan Jones, who comes in as Scourge, and he does a few bit players later in season 4. And then we also had Victor Caroli, who is our ever-present narrator. He also voiced one of the Torculi monkey men. And that's really it as far as that goes. So if we wanted to, we could go
In the real world.
Webworld aired October 20th, 1986 in the American Top 40. Since this came out just one day after our last episode, I'm sure you know Cyndi Lauper's True Colors is number 1 right now. So let's cover another number 1 for 1 week in July of 1986. Invisible Touch by Genesis.
Seems I'm falling for her. She seems to have an easy touch. She's here, the planet's not holding your heart. She seems to have an easy touch. It takes control, slowly tears you apart.
great song.
Lyrics by drummer and singer Phil Collins. This surprised me, but Invisible Touch was Genesis's first and only number 1 single in the U.S., though they did have 4 other consecutive top 5 singles
I
on
can't
this
believe
album.
I Can't Dance. I
It's-
feel like
that's on this
that was
album
on
as
heavy
well.
rotation.
Yeah, that was like their comeback from their Prague days.
They went
Um,
full pop.
And Collins has said this is his favorite Genesis song. Invisible Touch came about during a jam session, Rutherford playing a guitar riff while Collins improvised the line, "She seems to have an invisible touch." Collins has said that he heard the influence of Prince and Sheila E. in the drum machine, and his lyrics were inspired by a few people who he had known who had gotten under his skin. Despite liking the song himself, and despite the band's previous success, he has claimed he wasn't certain that the song would be a hit. Collins said, quote, "Large chunks of the lyrics are about his first wife, Andrea Bertarelli, with whom he was married to from 1975 to 1980.
Is that the inspiration for In the Air Tonight? That
I don't have those figures.
No, man. I heard it was he saw a guy drown.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then he invited him to a concert.
And he called him out.
Most convoluted rock and roll myth ever.
Caleb and Greg, as musicians, maybe you can tell me what this means. In 2017, shortlist Dave Faubert listed this song as containing, quote, "one of the greatest key changes in musical history."
I'd have
to hear the song to see, like, that is amazing. Yeah.
I think maybe there's a point in the song where there is, like, it does, I guess what I'm thinking of is it shifts into a higher, call it a higher octave.
It just goes higher. Yeah.
Okay.
At the end, when it goes into a higher, he sings it higher a bit. Like that's
Okay.
Key. I couldn't tell you what the keys are, but yeah.
It's always an effective move to elevate the emotion of a song. So this one probably really struck home with that, I'm assuming.
Lots of songs do that.
Yeah.
How many bands have the drummer is also the lead singer? Greg, that question should go to you as a drummer.
Yeah. What's her face was an incredible drummer.
Carpenters.
What's her name? God damn it.
Karen Carpenter.
Yeah, Karen. Yeah, really good drummer. I will say Neil Peart wasn't the singer in Rush, but he basically he was the lyricist and principal songwriter for Rush.
Yeah. There's an Aussie band called Spiderbait, and their drummer sings in most of their songs.
Oh, he wasn't a singer, but I guess Dave Grohl became a lead singer.
Yeah. The band had a bunch of singers, but the drummer was also a very active contributor to singing in the band.
Yeah, Ringo Starr. They threw a couple bones his way on the Beatles albums.
Yeah.
They're gonna put me in the movies, which I don't think is an original composition.
No, it's a Buck Owens song.
He did sing it, but he had Octopus's Garden. We'll give him that one.
Mm-hmm.
And Yellow Submarine. Shouts out to Ringo Starr.
Okay.
I've heard people cast aspersions on him as they're like he's an adequate drummer, but not a great one. I don't know. I can't tell.
He fit the pocket of what they wanted in that band, which was simplicity.
Not to say he doesn't have chops.
Sure.
I think he had chops. But I think he's underrated probably as a drummer, but I like his solo work too. I think he's not a bad little songwriter.
He plays the main little riff part in Come Together backwards. If that
like it was played backwards and they played it forwards, or that
no, like the drum bit, so because it goes like bump bump
yeah.
Most times you would go from the higher toms down to the lower toms, so like like that. He does it backwards.
No.
Every other version of it, like if you listen to every other cover version of that song, they're going down in pitch from the drum toms, so like boom 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 boom, and it gets lower. His version he does it in reverse. So normally you'd go like that, he goes upwards.
So give Ringo his roses as an innovator already, people.
Yeah.
All right, Ryan. What about movies? I'm
Number
assuming
one,
we have a box office.
We do. Crocodile Dundee is still number one.
Appropriate.
Woo!
So this movie we're
Thanks
gonna
for your culture, Greg.
Yeah.
That's all we got from you.
The documentary.
and sticks that come back. This movie was never number one that I'm going to talk about, but it was in the top 10 highest grossing films of 1986. Paramount Pictures' Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Nice.
Good film.
Yeah, it was written...
Some people look at it as a statement on mental wellness as well.
I have a little,
Yeah.
It was written, co-produced, and directed by 80s hit maker John Hughes, and stars Matthew Broderick, Mia Sara, and Alan Ruck, with a great supporting cast by Jennifer Grey of Dirty Dancing fame, Jeffrey Jones, and Edie McClurg, which is the marathon car rental lady from Planes, Trains.
Don't forget Charlie Sheen.
Yeah, in a cameo role
Yeah.
as a prophetic drug addict.
And Kitty Fiddler principal.
Yeah, that's Jeffrey Jones, unfortunately. Although he's a
Yeah.
great actor, but I can't see him. And even in Deadwood, I'm like, oh, I know what you did.
9 times.
God, I didn't know that fact. I didn't know we'd quantified his diddling capacity.
Since it's a John Hughes movie, it is set in Chicago. He wrote the screenplay in less than a week, and the plot is that our titular fourth-wall-breaking protagonist takes a sick day off school and ropes his best friend and girlfriend into adventure in the city. Now, I guess we can address the argument that there is against this film that Ferris is self-absorbed and basically completely id and like takes advantage of his best friend, which is somewhat fair.
Yes.
But it's also clear that Ferris does care about Cameron, and there's some subtext about Cameron valuing Ferris for pushing him into getting him out of the house and stuff like that. All criticism and praise of this film are probably valid. But that being said, it's still fun. I enjoy it. My girlfriend hates this movie.
What's her critique?
She just hates Ferris.
Yeah.
In 2014, the film was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress, being deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. The film was followed by a television series starring Charlie Schlater as the title character, a spin-off film titled Sam and Victor's Day Off, focusing on the two valets who took Cameron's father Ferrari on a joyride, is currently in development at Paramount.
What?
Something no one asked for.
I kind of like that take, though.
I hate it. I think it sounds awful.
I'm 100% in.
I always found comparisons between this and Parker Lewis Can't Lose.
I loved
Yeah.
that show as a kid.
It was
Synchronized
the same
watches.
sort of character. Like,
Smarmy, like smartest guy in the room.
Yeah.
Adolescent. Yeah.
Yeah.
gets whatever he wants done because
Synchronized
of his
swatches.
charisma somehow. The
Fourth wall breaking.
Mm-hmm.
I think a popular theory that people like to say that maybe derivative of Fight Club or something is that Cameron is Ferris. Like Cameron is the real character and Ferris is just a splinter of his personality that it's kind of who he wishes he was, and he's living the movie through the eyes of this almost alternate personality of his.
So is the girlfriend also imaginary?
TBD.
I think that's fine. Whatever fan fiction you want to make.
Yeah. It's
I heard that Ferris Bueller is just Megatron in a new body.
Yeah.
He had that plasma moment.
That's right.
That's the real world.
Great.
Some of this we've kind of touched on already. Written by Lynn Wein and Diane Duane. This is the only G1 episode written by either, though Wein would go on to write episodes of Beast Wars, Beast Machines, and Robots in Disguise 2015. In addition, like Greg said, he's probably best known for co-creating Lucius Fox, Mongol, Human Target, and Swamp Thing for DC, and then co-created Storm, Colossus, Nightcrawler, and Wolverine for Marvel, kind of ushering in the rejuvenation of the X-Men. He also edited for Alan Moore and illustrated on Watchmen. In animation,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Who was
that
the,
was on the
the
Wikipedia.
other guy that was the primary illustrator?
I don't remember.
Dave Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I guess I didn't know that somebody else got in on that
So
action.
here's something interesting that just literally just happened while we've been talking here. I found Diane on Twitter and I thanked her for contributing to a unique and compelling episode, and she just replied. She said, "You're welcome. It was a pleasure and a privilege to work with Lynn Wein on what, if I'm not mistaken, was his first foray into animated work, an indicator of great things to come."
Yeah,
Wow, shout out.
Nice.
Mhm.
Good
Nice.
job, Caleb.
That's cool.
That's
Coming
why
in
you're
clutch.
a VP of social media.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
In other animation, like later animation, yeah, Ween wrote for Ben 10, Mummies Alive, RoboCop, Godzilla, and Gargoyles, among others. He had triple bypass surgery in 2015 and unfortunately passed away in 2017 at the age of 69.
Who did?
Ween.
Um,
Ween.
Well, that's weird because Ween is still posting on Twitter.
That's what the Wikipedia said. Maybe I.
You're saying Diane.
Account
You're
name.
looking at Diane Duane.
I am, but she tagged
Account.
she tagged Lynn on
yeah.
Twitter, and so I'm looking at.
account now maintained by widow Christine Fella.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Diane Duane is alive and is best known. That would be weird.
Apparently,
She's tweeting from the grave.
Okay, gotcha.
Best known for her Star Trek work and So You Want to Be a Wizard young adult books. And she has a bunch of 1 and 2 off episodes of various animated series from the 80s through the aughts. So, yeah.
Nice. And now connected to APDC.
There
All
you go.
part of the universe.
Yep. Send her a
that's
button that says ignore Beast Wars.
How did you guys feel about the scheme here? Definitely a unique episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's not
What is the
really a
scheme?
scheme. I guess just Cyclonus wants Galvatron to get well. Get well, soon we want you to get well.
Well,
I mean-
I'm for one. I'm glad it didn't work. I like Galvatron's
I know you do.
craziness. Maybe I'll feel differently as this progresses.
I tend to lean toward I like the idea that it would have changed him into a different, like, more stable person, but maybe that's not as fun. I don't know.
I also
Yeah,
like
it's-
how it shows how Cyclonus cares about his leader, so he's not just... There's lots of moments where Cyclonus appears to live by a code that is a little bit
The
higher
Warrior's
order,
code.
yeah, than most other Decepticons do.
Yeah, because like nine out of 10, I would say, of the other Decepticons would just be like, well, fuck him, then I'll be the leader.
Right.
You know, like, so
I don't know. So I guess we're rating the scheme as the show is interesting, or the episode is interesting.
I really, really like Caleb said, this really engaged me, and I enjoyed this episode a great deal.
yeah,
So, yeah.
I give it 9 out of 10 cuckoo nests.
To the extent that the scheme is a quintesson scheme,
Sort
it's
of.
definitely a 0 out of 10.
Yeah, that didn't
Yeah.
go
It
anywhere.
didn't work out for them in any sense, and maybe made no sense.
And the scheme of the Dr. Zaius people, if it's their scheme, then it's a failure too, because their whole
Their planet's all fucked.
fucked up.
Yeah, as a kid, I remember attributing some sort of malice on their part, but I think they're just business people. They're just here to. I don't think that they were trying to fuck over Galvatron. It was just a case they couldn't handle.
You're just making that shmoney.
Yeah.
As far as like, so okay,
We can.
I'm the ghost of the iconic moment.
you know.
I just wrote that the fact that Galvatron is so insane and his mind is so powerful that he overcame a planetary mental presence is a really interesting plot device.
I thought it was interesting the scene where he's entering that he's cutting his way to the middle of the planet to find the brain, and this kind of going into this. Things are kind of turning red, and he's kind of walking into this like canyon or something. And for some reason, I remember that as a kid because I just thought it was really interesting because I wanted to see what was going to be revealed.
You like
at the
catacombs.
source. I do because they're leading somewhere, and what's at the end of that? What's the source?
I feel like the payoff on that wasn't very good, though.
It was quick, yeah.
Yeah,
and
I
like,
wish it
they
was-
just blew up a window.
Yeah, I wish it was something more interesting than that.
Greg, anything stand out for you?
Pretty much everything you guys have said. On a personal level, it still tickles me that that Galvatron just builds a gun.
Yeah. How does that?
Like
how
it's-
would you even allow that to be a possibility?
Yeah, it's like we give the patients these pieces of objects that they can reconstruct. It's like, so you gave him pieces of a gun. Like what?
Yeah.
Maybe the people watching over this planet are a little bit more devious than we realized.
Yeah.
I really just being exposed to all those weird aliens and
Yeah,
their
that's
different
fun.
ailments. That was something that stuck in my head as
Mommy!
a kid. And as an adult, I really appreciate that there's definitely some kind of commentary on at least the U.S. mental health care system here, and it feels like it probably hasn't changed very much.
I'd like to know what Diane thinks of it. Like, how does she feel about the episode? What are those themes? What are we supposed to gain from this episode?
Yeah.
There's a future interview for the Patreon.
Possibly, yeah.
You can hook it up.
It'll be good to interview people where we liked their writing.
Yeah. I'm not opposed to it.
Sorry.
Oh.
Oh man, I put my foot in that one.
Next time on the Autopod Decepticast.
Is this music? We'll decide in the very next episode, penned by one Buzz Dixon. Speaking of writers we like. Greg, what do you want to plug? What piece of unfunny nerddom are incoming in your world?
Yeah.
We, like I said earlier, we've covered a couple of Marvel topics on the last episode, which was Black Panther and Guardians holiday special, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping to get to Top Gun because everybody seems to have loved the new Top Gun Maverick movie that came out.
Have you seen it?
No, I haven't,
I
but
haven't either.
it's one. We're looking at potentially doing Andor as well.
It's a great show.
Once I get done with that, Clerks 3 is on our radar as well.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's another one to need to catch up on. But a friend of the show and Steel Cage alumni, Megaran, he actually had a song on the Clerks 3 soundtrack. So we're trying to get him on to hopefully give us some insight into that. But yeah, so
Awesome.
Sounds great. Any previews of new Transformers tales? What should we expect in the coming months? More Cup adventures?
yeah. Next, well, depending on when this comes out, if I'll just say the January issue to start off 2023. Obviously, we had our Petro Rabbits issue come out, which dives into why Cup has a distaste for Petro Rabbits. The next one is another reference, and it's called the Niter Slave Mines. So another little tease of a Cup war story, and it's not quite what you think as far as what Niter is. And then we're looking at potentially some deluxe Insecticons. So
Yes.
with a particular podcaster might be doing a cover for us.
Perhaps. Who could it be now?
I'm Mike Simon.
Well, great. Well, check out all of Greg's stuff at unfunnynerdtangent.com. Does that sound about right? And
That's it.
TransformersReanimated.com.
Perfect.
Way to get those URLs right on the first try. As for us,
Give, my fellow Decepticons! Give till it hurts!
if you'd like to help support the show, we invite you to check out our Patreon page. It has many levels of support, many different kinds of benefits. You can find that at patreon.com/APODcast. You can check out some various merchandise at the APDC store. We also have Buy Us a Drink for $5.
Yeah, just go to PayPal.
If you want a dumpster podcast and your credit don't stink, then reach inside your wallet now and buy us a drink.
That's
right.
That happened.
$5
It needs a key change.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, sure
Gotta put that into the V2. $5 at APODcast on PayPal. Tell me what you would like me to make, and I will make it on a future episode.
Additionally, you can support us through a review and some stars on the Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, Google Play. Tell us what you think of the show. Rate us appropriately. Good, bad, indifferent. We might have an indifferent one that we covered it technically last episode.
Here, how's this?
If you want a dumpster podcast
podcast and your credit don't stink. Then reach inside your wallet now and buy us a drink.
That actually isn't a key change.
Yeah.
That's frenetic.
Yeah.
Love it.
You can connect with us virtually on social media for all kind of wackiness like you just heard. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all of them at APODcast. But on a more consistent basis, if you are a patron, then you can hang out with us on the Discord. Again, the Patreon is patreon.com/APODcast. And we'll have some show notes, all that other good stuff at our main web presence, autopoddecepticast.com. Greg, thank you for being on the program. We were going
Thanks for having me.
Oh,
More
sorry.
madness.
You were. I was trying to get Greg to wear his version of this shirt so that we could be twinsies, but apparently he's
Yeah.
already stanked it up and it's in the wash.
That's good for the podcast so people can see what you're talking about.
All right, bye everybody.
See y'all.
Bye, bye, bye.
What time is it? Your time, Greg?
It's like 4 a.m.
3:08.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for staying up.
Cells is the sponsor of Autopod Decepticast. Yes, 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 yes.